Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajadana Randana Jadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajadana Randana Dalandana Brajadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajadana Randana Brajadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I should say the Pramadwani prayers, or it's okay? Just want me to say them? Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stota Sati. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Founder Charya of ISKCON Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Premsika Hoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurabhata Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Sankirtan Yagya ki. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, Further Inquiries by Vidura, Text 7 and 8. So it's number 8 that's on the board. So I'll chant the Sanskrit of number 7 and read the verse, translation, and the short purport, and then we can all chant the Sanskrit of number 8. Istasmi tasmin me mano vidvan khidyate jñāna-saṅkaṭe tanna parāṇuda vibho kaśmalaṁ manasaṁ mahat. O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this nescience, and therefore I request you to clear it up. So that's Vidura asking this question of Maitreya. O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this nescience, and I therefore request you to clear it up. And Prabhupada's one sentence purport. Such mental bewilderment as represented here by Vidura takes place for some living entities, but not for everyone. For if everyone were bewildered, there would be no possibility of a solution by higher personalities. Okay. Śrī-śuka uvāca itthaṁ coditaḥ tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ prachahara Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya śrī-śuka uvāca itthaṁ coditaḥ tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ prachahara Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya śrī-śuka uvāca itthaṁ coditaḥ tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ prachahara Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya. itthaṁ coditaḥ kṣattrā śrī-śuka uvāca tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ prachahara Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya. Ladies, śrī-śuka uvāca itthaṁ coditaḥ tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ prachahara Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya śrī-śuka uvāca jñāna-saṅkaṭe itthaṁ coditaḥ tattva-jijñāsunā muniḥ Bhagavati smaya-niva gata-smaya śrī-śuka uvāca, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Sa, he Maitreya Muni, itthaṁ, in this way, coditaḥ, being agitated, kṣattrā, by Vidura, tattva-jijñāsunā, by one who was anxious to inquire to know the truth. Muniḥ, the great sage, pratyah, replied, Bhagavati, God conscious, smāyana, wondering, vibho, as if, gatasmaya, without hesitation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King, Maitreya, being thus agitated by the inquisitive Vidura, at first seemed astonished, but then he replied to him without hesitation, since he was fully God-conscious. Since the great sage Maitreya was filled with God-consciousness, he had no reason to be astonished at such contradictory questions by Vidura. Therefore, although as a devotee he externally expressed surprise, as if he did not know how to reply to those questions, he immediately became perfectly settled and properly replied to Vidura. Yasmin khidyate sarvam, evam khidyatam bhavati. Anyone who is a devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent. And devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Although a devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. Amangina tarandasya ganagana shalakaya chakshu amilitamyena tasmai shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya manobishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagojatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Scha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Brindabaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnavadaya Krishna Vastaya Bodhale, Samadhi Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamane. Namo Om Vishnavadaya Krishna Vastaya Bodhale, Samadhi Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamane. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharane. Nevasesha Sunyavadi Pashyata Deshitarane. So, this is about 5,000 years ago in Hardwar. The Maitreya and Vidura met there. And we can reasonably imagine that they were sitting on the bank of the Ganges or near the Ganges in Hardwar. So this is the scene. Maitreya is a is a disciple of Parashara Muni. So he's quite a senior personality. He's, like you could say, a brother of Vyasadeva. He's a friend. He's a friend of Vyasadeva. And he wasn't a fully pure devotee. They hadn't fully understood the importance of the association of Sri Krishna, worshipping Krishna, serving Krishna. But he actually met Krishna and Uddhava, and they had a conversation. And in that conversation, it said many things, but Maitreya overheard. And by hearing the discussion, he became fully convinced, fully pure. Anyway, later, Vidura asked if he could hear from Uddhava, and Uddhava said, no, you should hear from Maitreya, because Maitreya is a senior man. You should hear from him. So Maitreya and then Vidura met, and they have a long conversation. They discuss many things. So in the course of the conversation, that in this chapter there's only been a few verses. So Vidura started asking questions about the position of the jiva and the position of Krishna, to clarify the difference between the jiva and Krishna, how Krishna's beyond the material energy, and the jiva's in the material energy, as we all know. We all have experience of what it's like to be subject to the control of the material energy. So Vidura is also a great soul. He's one of the Mahajans, we know. He's actually Yamaraj. His identity is Yamaraj. And he's having a sabbatical from being Yamaraj, and he's being taken birth as the son of Vyas in the Kuru family. But he's, by a twist of fate, he took birth from a Sudrani, from a woman of a lower caste, even though his father was Vyasadeva. But still, he had a lot of amazing association. He associated with Krishna, with the Pandavas. He was just to be a son of Vyasadeva is special. But he himself, we probably know the backstory of why he became a Shudra, Vidura, a so-called Shudra. Anyway, Vidura is very qualified, but he's asking this question. I'm under the material energy. What can I do? I'm bewildered. It says that the verse before this, number 7, is, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of this nescience, and I request you to clear it up. So he knows what questions to ask to get the information he needs. Because we know he's playing the role, but just say, the spiritual knowledge is shared through a system of questions and answers. It's said that you should approach a spiritual master and ask. You render service and ask. He can reveal the truth, but the way it's done is by question and answers. Of course, this goes on in the material world as well. People ask questions, how do I open my business? Or how do I find a wife? Or, where is the Mahaprasadam stall? Or people will ask questions, because that might say it's not a material question, but people ask questions and get answers all day. There's actually one purport in the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada speaks about this, how the whole world revolves around questions and answers. but specifically spiritual life. Yeah, it's inquiring confidentially and revealing one's mind. These are the two loving exchanges. So Vidura knows what questions to ask, and he wants to know why has the jiva become covered by the material energy? If the jiva's originally pure, a pure part of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna, if he's pure soul, pure consciousness, and if Krishna's in his heart, if Krishna's accompanying him, why would he fall down into the material energy? Why would this happen? Why are we, in other words, in modern way, you could say, well, why am I here? What's going on? Why am I in this material world? Why have I got a material... If I'm a spirit soul, if I'm eternal, why am I in a material body? And why am I suffering? Because I've got a material body, because I am identifying with it, I'm suffering. I'm suffering from the heat. Everybody felt such great relief yesterday. Temperature went down by 5 or 6 degrees suddenly. Wow. And then you realize when it's over, you can realize, or you admit how much you've been suffering, huh? You see. Especially me, because I'm from the West, and this is a new experience. This heat is like, wow. I've never been in such a hot place, ever. How do they live like this, these people? But you see life goes on. But still, the point is it's suffering, the suffering. And then I come from the West. I spent my life in the West. It's very cold. You know, I have 6 or 7 months of it being, you know, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 degrees, which is really cold, sometimes frosty. So why are we in this situation? That's the question we have to ask. It's not just Vidura that's asking this question. This is the question for all of us, and that's the idea of the Bhagavatam. Through hearing these conversations between the great souls on these subject matters, we can learn the answers. We're not able to always to frame the questions, but these great souls, they have the questions and then they have the answers. And it's in a very relishable, very interesting, very informative format, so that we can, by reading and rereading and discussing, we can understand more. So this is a very basic point, you know, that we are in the material world, we're soul, we're lost under the cover of the material energy. It's a basic point in our philosophy, but it's something we haven't realized yet. We haven't fully realized it, and it's a long process of realizing that you're not the body. If you're not the body and you really realize it, everything would be different, you know. Your whole outlook, your activities, all the things that you do would be quite different. The spirit soul, he doesn't need to eat or sleep or get married or take bath. He's just in bliss with Krishna. But we do all these things to maintain our bodies, and we're attached to our situation, we're attached to certain comforts. All these things are going on because we're not yet on the fully pure platform. But that's not to criticize anybody. If you're on the path of purification, we're on the way, on the right track, hopefully going in the right direction, on the right path. So what has happened is that we are jiva, we are the living entity, or the kṣattrā shakti. That's the technical term. Kṣattrā shakti. That means we have a potency to know our field. It means we're conscious of what's around us, or what's going on, but we become overpowered. So that's an energy of Krishna, the kṣattrā shakti. And it becomes overpowered by the avidya karma sangya. So one potency of Krishna overpowers the other potency of Krishna. So Maya, very strong, very powerful, overpowers the jiva. That's just the way it is. That's just how Krishna's made it like that. that we have the tendency to fall into Maya because we're teeny, weeny, very, very, very small, 1/10,000th of the tip of a hair, which is not very big. Of course, that is said to be it's like a material indication of how small we are. It's not exactly a physical measurement. It's an indication of our smallness. So we're in this situation. And how have we become covered? Because of desire, actually. It all goes back to desire. I was speaking with one, I'm very fortunate to have the association of one Srila Prabhupada disciple, lady disciple, and she was saying last night, everything comes from desire. So the reason we get covered by this energy is because we desired it. Actually, we desired. Wonder what it's like. Wonder what it's like to be separate from Krishna. I wonder what it's like to be in the material world. Maybe I can enjoy. Well, Krishna's always enjoying. Maybe I should enjoy for a change. Give it a go. Let's go to the material world. And then it covers us. It's like a curtain. It's described as a curtain. When they close the curtains on the deities, it's a certain point, that's it. You can't see Krishna anymore. So when we get covered like that, we forget Krishna. And you could say what's worse, or maybe equally bad, we forget who we are. In order to come into material consciousness, we have to forget Krishna, and we have to forget our own identity. Because being in the material world and acting on the bodily platform, it's an illusion, right? It's an illusion. It's like you can say from a computer point of view, it's a virtual reality. You know, we're living in a computer game, if you like. There's this one Prabhupada disciple, Sadhaputta Prabhu. He had a PhD in maths. He was super brainy, and he wrote one book all about Maya, describing from a mathematical point of view how the material energy is actually constructed like a material computer, like a computer program. And you have to have certain passwords and certain levels of, qualification, clearance to get to certain levels in the material energy. Like, if you have a higher level of access, you can go to the heavenly planets, play on that screen, or if you're not such a high level, you're in an animal body. But it's all within the illusion of the material world. So we're locked in by our desires. So then you think, well, I just changed my desire. I'll just cultivate spiritual. That's the message. That's the message that we're supposed to pick up, that we need to change our desires from wanting to be here in the material world and playing out our envy of Krishna, wanting to imitate Krishna, wanting to be the Lord, the enjoyer, the center. So we give that up and we desire to serve Krishna instead. So that's philosophically what should happen, right? That's the idea, is that we give up desiring to be Krishna and we instead desire to serve Krishna. It sounds simple. It's no problem, okay? But there's something called false ego that gets in the way. And if false ego kind of, serve Krishna. Well, I could serve him a little bit, maybe. Isn't it? You're smiling because you can recognize this. There's some reluctance. It's not that we just, once we get the information, we surrender. I mean, there are very elevated souls in the Chaitanya Leela, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He hears about Krishna consciousness, he understands, and pure devotee. Yeah. But he's Brihaspati, so you could say, oh, well, he's a special soul. But technically it's possible. It is possible. But most people have to go very gradually, becoming purified of this illusion. And it's an illusion. So what do we need to understand more, to be able to really desire Krishna? We have to understand, we need knowledge, because we don't have the full bhakti, so it's knowledge that's going to make the difference. The gopis don't, they don't have classes on philosophy, because they're already pure devotees, they already spontaneously serve Krishna. But if we don't, we need to understand why. We need to understand who Krishna is, the advantages of serving him, the disadvantages of being in Maya. We have to understand all these things thoroughly. Sambandha, Gyan, Abhideya, Prayojan. We need to understand the philosophy properly. Otherwise, we may do some bhakti, we may do some devotional service, but it might not last, If things become too tough, if the false ego gets too ruffled up, it might be too hard to go on. We have to become philosophically convinced. We have to read the books. Prabhupada actually said, if you don't read the books, you will fall down. You need more than just sentiment. You need philosophy. You need to have feelings, but also you need to have understanding. You need philosophy and bhakti and devotion. Bhakti, Vedanta. Bhakti and devotion, but Vedanta also knowledge. So Prabhupada quotes this famous verse from the Mukunda Upanishad. Yasmin vigyate sarvam, evam vigyatam bhavati. I think that's the main point in his purport. Prabhupada says, Yasmin vigyate sarvam evam vigyatam bhavati. Anyone who is the devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent. And devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Although a devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. So the devotee has knowledge. We can understand, we can hear from the parampara, from the books, from great souls, but we can also get knowledge in the heart. We can get knowledge revealed in the heart from Krishna. Krishna, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yoga yenam. Yes, okay. Which verse is that? 10:10. Anyway. When I first joined, we had a temple president, and his name was Pragosh. You all know Pragosh. He became a big figure on the GBC here. Anyway, at that time, Pragosh used to often give class, and he only knew one verse, and that verse was the one I just spoke, and he would quote it every day. Often gave class, and he would always quote that verse, so we know it. Hare Krishna. So the idea is that Krishna in the heart will give knowledge. He will help us. It's not that Krishna's saying, oh no, look at him, he thinks he can come back to the spiritual world. And anyway, even if he does, I'm not interested in. He left me, he ignored me, he's been so offensive for so many years, forget about him. No, Krishna is fully forgiving, I was thinking yesterday how when Indra was angry with the bridge Basis, he was really furious because they cancelled the Indra Puja. He tried to kill all the bridge Basis. I mean, you can't get more demoniac than that, right? He sent the Samvataka cloud to inundate the whole of Vrindavan with ice and flood waters. And that's really cold, icy water. All the cows, all the bridge Basis. He actually wanted to kill them for revenge. So, and then it was no problem. He went and of course he came to his senses, he realized he couldn't do it. He became sorry and contrite. He went to Krishna with Sarabi in front. And he apologized. And Krishna just forgave him. Krishna is forgiving because Krishna knows the tendency of the jiva to fall under the material energy. You just fell in Maya, Indra. You fell in Maya. And look what you did. Embarrassed yourself. We do embarrass ourselves. It's true, when we fall into Maya. We can do really, especially anger. If you become angry, you can really embarrass yourself, and do things that you would never otherwise do. Oh no, I really lost it. Oh no. But this is just the illusion. It's the power of the illusion. It will dictate to us to do all sorts of things. So, Krishna in the heart, he forgives us. And he's helping us. He's supplying everything we need. If he sees a little spark of desire to serve him, he reciprocates. He will give us all facilities. We'll find ourselves, suddenly, I've got a sari, I've got a dhoti, somebody's given me some tilak, look, somebody's given me some books, look at that, they're inviting me to the temple. One thing comes after another, and you see it, everybody sees it in their life. Krishna knows what I'm going through, and he's supplying what I need, he's helping me. And you get this feeling that Krishna's with you, and he's helping you. All devotees have this experience. And when you try more and more to serve him, and you try more and more to chant sincerely, you get more and more awareness of this Krishna in the heart. So I just wanted to read something from the purport of the Bhagavad Gita. I always like to read something from Prabhupada's books because it has more potency. So it's not 10:10 Tasham Satatu Yuktanam, it's the next one. I think Prabhupada. The translation is, to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. It's a nice poetic description, yeah? The lamp of knowledge, he destroys the darkness born of ignorance. It says in the purport, if a devotee is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. The sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. They think that you have to go through the neti all the time. No. We can get knowledge from within the heart. It's actually there. Actually, it is there. It just needs to be uncovered. Actually, we're pure devotees. Deep down, we are pure devotees. It's just become covered. Okay, so the Mayavadis think we have to go through this philosophical discrimination before we have pure knowledge. But then the answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education. Some people can't read even, but they're hearing, they're still hearing. Even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, which is the Westerners, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna, but this is the Lord speaking to Arjuna, that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. So that's what the Mayavadis try to do. It's not this, it's not that. Well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. By speculating, you don't find the truth. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. This is a very interesting point, that no matter how intelligent you are, or how determined you are, how many, advantages you may have from a material point of view, it's not possible. It's not possible to understand Krishna. You have to get Krishna's grace. You have to have the blessings of the parampara. You have to have submission to your spiritual master. You have to please Krishna by following Krishna's process. It says, a man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service is the Supreme Truth Krishna pleased. And by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotees. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart. And with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. There's a lot of analogies in the Shastra about knowledge or enlightenment being like the sun. Yeah? Krishna Surya Samaha. Maya Adhikar. We're in the Maya Adhikar, or at least I am trying to get out. Been trying for a long time to get out. So this sunlight, in the morning the sun comes and we see everything. At night time we can't, we stumble around. If there's no electric light, if there's no torch or mobile phone, it's dark, we can't do much. As soon as the sun rises, everything's revealed. And so this is a good analogy. When we're stumbling around in the material energy, we don't know what's going on. We don't even know who we are or why we're here, what we're supposed to do. We don't know anything. But as soon as we get spiritual knowledge, as soon as we have knowledge from a pure source, from the parampara, Prabhupada's books, nowadays that's the Prabhupada's books, then everything is revealed. We understand who we are, we understand what to do, we understand why we're here. We have Srimad Bhagavatam class to help us. So this is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. So the key is to be a pure devotee, and then you'll get full knowledge. There's one story about Srila Prabhupada. In the 26th 2nd Avenue, in the very first temple, if you like. It was just a little room, actually. It was a little shop. Very narrow. Has anybody been there? New York? You've been there? Yes. Hare Krishna. I went there. I was very fortunate. I went there. And I was shocked how narrow it was. It's quite long. It's kind of longish. But narrow. It's like you could almost touch both the walls. It was just like these little shops you get on the road there. They're all little... Anyway, so Prabhupada was there and he was just getting a few people to be interested, taking interest in hearing from him. And there was one devotee, I don't know who maybe you know who it was. It was it Gargamuni? Went and bought him a dictating machine. Yeah, so say it was Gargamuni. He went and he was walking along and he saw in a shop window a dictating machine. And that was high-tech. That was like really the latest iPhone in those days, to have a dictating machine. So he bought it. It was big. It was like a big thing like this with all big buttons, like a cassette player. So he thought, that might be useful for Swamiji. So he bought it. And he took it to Swamiji. He said, Swamiji, I thought you might be able to use this, you know, for your recording, you know, you don't have to type everything, you can just record it and somebody else can type it. He said, Prabhupada was interested, yes, very good, yes. I said, I'll show you how to use it. Prabhupada knew. He was like, Prabhupada had come from India. They have no technology in India. We're Americans. They wanted to show. Prabhupada knew how to use it, how to switch it on, how to make it play, how to record. He didn't know how Prabhupada knew. But this is an example, yeah? Super soul. It must have been super soul, because we could say from external point of view, how would Prabhupada have ever had a dictating machine? Maybe in a previous, appearance as Krishna's pure devotee preaching in the material world. So it was mystical. And there were a lot of other things like that. Prabhupada knew things that you wouldn't expect him to be able to know. How does he know that I'm, have this background? Or how does he know that I was told a lie? Or how does he know I was sleeping through japa time? But Prabhupada would know, he would know these things. He would be able to see the heart. Because that's how it works, yeah? Is when you're a pure devotee, because you're pure, the Lord in the heart can speak to you. It's not that it says in this sloka, you know everything, yeah? Evam vigyatam bhavati, sarvam. You know everything if you're a pure devotee, but it means everything you need to know is revealed to you. Everything you need to know. Whenever you need to know something, Krishna will supply it. It's not that you know, the example is how many windows in the Empire State Building or how many hairs are on my head. That's not necessary. But if it becomes necessary, Prabhupada, somebody was introduced to Srila Prabhupada. There's a man that he'd never met Prabhupada before, and his name, he said, this is such and such. He was an Indian man, such and such a man. And Prabhupada, greeted him. And he said, you have such and such a business and such a place. And the man was like, how do you know that? He said, I saw a sign. He said, when I'm walking around, I observe everything. I observe. And I saw a sign with your name and the business that you were conducting. And the man was like, so. Prabhupada said, wherever I go, I observe my environment. He said, when I'm in a room, I will count how many beams there are in the ceiling. Or if he sees a train, he will count how many wagons there are. He's just so highly conscious of everything. Past, present, and future. He knows everything by Krishna's arrangement. So actually there's no dearth of knowledge for a devotee. It's just a question of being qualified. Yeah? Due to the this is back to the purport. Due to the contamination of material association, through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. Chetadapana marjanam. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant, and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. So we chant, we're chanting to be engaged in service. That's the prayer, isn't it? Please engage me in your service. And when we engage in the service and our desire to chant increases, it's easier to chant. So then you chant, and then you do more service, and then you do more service, you chant. And it's like it builds up, it spirals up. Gradually, you get more taste for chanting, more taste for serving, become attached. You associate with people who are also serious about chanting and serving. And in this way we progress. In Kali Yuga, association is very important. I think Prabhupada gave the statistic, 80% of our Krishna consciousness is association. If we have good association, we can fly along. They say that if you're completely in Maya, if you're really in the modes, just go and sit where there are some devotees, yeah? Just go and sit in the temple room. Or just go and sit and, watch something Krishna conscious. Just sit there. May not be able to do it, but the idea is that the association of devotees is so powerful. Prabhupada said even if somebody just touches a book. So what the book is association of devotees. You're distributing books, somebody will just touch the book. Nah, I don't want it. But they've touched it. Yeah, they've a moment's association. So this is another point. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord. Everything is provided automatically. There's a story about Indradyumna Maharaj, and he was preaching to somebody, telling them how Krishna will just supply whatever you need. Whatever you need. You know this story? And the hippie was, really? You really think so? Your God is like that? No. And he said, well, what do you need? A pair of shoes. And at that minute, somebody came and said, can you guys use these shoes? Right? I don't know where this story was recorded, but Indradyumna Maharaj told it. And the shoes actually just fitted that man, that hippie. He was barefoot because he's a hippie, but they fitted him. So Krishna supplies. Again, we have experience of that, He supplies saris, he supplies nice prasadam, supplies the temple, supplies Lakshmi for our wonderful new TOVP. Maybe not all at once, but it's coming. Just now coming. Krishna is not a poor man. He can supply whatever we need. And actually Krishna takes pleasure in supplying what we need. Oh no, he wants a dhoti. No, he actually likes it. He likes to take care. He likes to reciprocate with our service. He's a person. It's a personal exchange. When you're offering Krishna some nice mango or something, he's pleased and then he wants to reciprocate. It's a personal... You realize more and more as you go on. It's not just awe and reverence and bowing down and prayers and so many obeisances. But if you don't do it, you'll be cast into hell. And Christians have that idea. Or I think also the Muslims. If you're not good, you'll be cast into hell. And you will fry or you will suffer. You will roast. Krishna is a higher level, beyond fear, with love. Showing your love for Krishna. He wants that actually. He doesn't, what do we have that he doesn't have? He has everything. He's the, Supreme Lord of all that be. He's the Supreme Controller, Supreme Proprietor. But he wants our love because he could live without it. But because we're part of him and because we have this natural relationship with him, and he knows that the only way that we will be happy is when we love him. We have that loving exchange. When we have that loving exchange with him, that is what satisfies the heart. Nothing else will satisfy. The most beautiful boy in the world, or the most beautiful girl in the world, or the most beautiful children, or the most wonderful job, or the biggest bank account. It may be some flicker of material happiness, but it doesn't satisfy the heart. When you get this exchange with Krishna, when you feel Krishna's pleased, when you feel some kind of There's nothing like it. Huh? This is exactly what we. So each soul has this exact personal relation, specific. And when we feel this, this is why we stay in devotional service, isn't it? This is why all these brahmacharis performing such austerities for so many years. It's because there's a taste. There's a taste in it. Or the grihastas struggling to maintain their families, the kids and the wife, and staying up at night and the baby's screaming. They're doing it for Krishna, actually. They're doing it for Krishna's pleasure because they feel the reciprocation. Okay. We've got a few minutes left. If anybody wants to make comment, question, correction. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Are you going to... Yes, go ahead.
That Srila Prabhupada wrote to Abhiram back in 70. You had mentioned how Prabhupada had said that if we don't read his books regularly, then we will fall down. And so I've got a really nice letter that goes even further than that. Let's see. Oh, Krishna. Let's see. Anyway, I have another question. I'll try and find this. But in the beginning of the class, you were describing how Vidura wanted to hear from Uddhava, but Uddhava referred him to Maitreya because he was senior. Now, that's Maryada Vitikrama. I've often wondered, it seems to me that the primary principle is that we take instruction from one who's the most advanced.
Yeah.
And, so, and as you mentioned earlier, or you mentioned also that Maitreya wasn't so advanced, but when he got the association of Krishna by being with Uddhava, then the doors kind of opened, in terms of increased Krishna consciousness. So that's a question. I finally found what I was going to read. This is powerful. This is actually was quoted in the VTE, Vaishnava Training and Education Leadership Management Training Student Handbook. And it's under the importance of sadhana. Okay, this is a January 75 letter to Abhiram. I think he was a temple president at the time. So the importance of sadhana. Everyone must rise early, take bath, attend Mangalarti, chant at least 16 rounds, attend class, and follow the 4 regulative principles, strictly. If these things are lax, then there's no question of spiritual life. Anyone who does not accept these things staunchly will have to fall down. One must teach them by your personal you must teach them by your personal example. Otherwise, how will they learn? If you are loose in your habits, then everyone in your temple will also be loose in their habits. So as one of my elder disciples, be strong, do not deviate, and you will be blessed. Hare Krishna.
Do not deviate.
The importance of not just chanting your rounds, but also doing, reading Prabhupada's books, but doing the whole program.
Yeah.
And I've noticed over the years, there's been quite a slide in that standard, movement-wide, and the results are phenomenal, disastrous, personally and then also collectively. So it's something that we all really need to take seriously. Anyway,
I completely agree. Yeah, we have a responsibility to each other and to the population of the entire planet, you know, to behave properly, to follow Prabhupada in all details and not betray him. Yeah.
Getting back to the Maryarda Vitikrama.
Yeah.
I mean, but it also, you know, there's a whole culture of respect, you know, that's...
I think it was because Maitreya was older and
no, that was it. That was the reason that was given. He's senior to me, so you should hear from him. Otherwise...
But older.
Otherwise, Uddhava was saying that I'm guilty of the offense of Maryarda Vitikrama, which causes one to, you know, all kinds of calamities take place in life with that. So, but it always kind of intrigued me, you know, how, because Uddhava was one of the most intimate associates of Krishna. You know, there was such a deep, loving relationship. So, anyway.
Yeah, well, he had personal association with the gopis for several months. I mean, on Krishna's instruction. But you could look at it this way, you could say, well, Vidura spoke to Uddhava and asked for shiksha. And Uddhava gave him shiksha, and he said the shiksha was, hear from Maitreya. So that's the resolution. It's like one disciple of Jnāna-saṅkaṭe Maharaj, a lady, and she really wanted to take from Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj. She approached Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj, please will you take me as your disciple? And he said, no. He said, I want you to go and take from Jnāna-saṅkaṭe Maharaj. So she did. She thought, well, I asked for instruction, that's the instruction I got. So I just transferred that to the point you brought that. Yep, Hare Krishna. A great soul is in our presence. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Jai, thank you for coming to the class. There's no need for you to come to my class, but anyway.
Thank you for your good, wonderful class, Mataji. I have a question. Amongst the many services that are pending, which I have in my plan, I wanted to know from you, how do we strengthen the impetus for a particular service?
How do you strengthen the impetus
for a particular service? Because some service, the last 2 years it is not done, and it is not just getting ahead because something else keeps occupying my time. You know? And so I sometimes wonder myself, I know it's an important service, but I'm putting it in the side. You know, how do I make that service come in my mainstream and then make it happen? What are some points for getting impetus to do that?
Well, if it was me, I would just pray to Krishna for time. I say, Krishna, if you really want me to do this, can you show me how to manage my time so I can do it? I just keep it simple like that. I would, Krishna, you know, you can supply what I need, the intelligence, the time, the paraphernalia, the help, the computer, whatever I need to do this service. If you want me to prioritize something else, well, so be it. Just let go, let God. You know, that's a saying they have in Ireland. Let go, let God. I think we have to finish. I'll be in trouble. Somebody else want to say?
This comment on Radheshyam Prabhu's
Yes,
point.
More qualified.
I don't know about that, but actually you gave a really good class. But one meaning that the acharyas have given us of the Mahamantra is, please empower me to do my service. So there's, you know, a real nice affirmation number 9. I'm out of my mind and in my heart, fully present to the holy name when I chant. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he makes the point that chanting is not lip deep, it's heart deep. So we can very, without thinking, just crying to Krishna, please empower me to do this service. And I found it to be remarkable, you know, how it brings that focus and impetus into, because we have to prioritize what's going to be the most important, what's going to please Krishna and strengthen our movement the most. You know, so if we allow Krishna to give us the Shakti to do the service by sincerely praying to him in that way, that, you know, the results are remarkable. That's my experience with it. You know, it's a very powerful affirmation. And if anyone doesn't have the book, I got them here. So, you know, so, but it really helps me a lot. You know, it's kind of become a genetic programming that I've got now. So whenever I start chanting, it's, you know, and the mind starts going from the heart, you know, and then, you know, particular things purify me. Please bring me closer to you, Krishna. But empowerment, you know, this is really the most important thing in our devotional lives. And look at what the level of empowerment that Srila Prabhupada had, because he was so sincerely following the instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it just became the complete focus, the Vyāśyātmika buddhi. So anyway, my 2 cents. Oh, I didn't speak loud enough. Was it audible? Okay, it's okay.
You know, when I came to Sridhar Mayapur probably a decade ago, you know, you were running MI in those days. You had only one boy with you for the office, you know, but you had an intense desire that MI should take a big shape. Now it has taken a very big shape. So what you spoke just now, you have lived to that example yourself, I felt.
There is a famous lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he speaks about how he was able to fulfill the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says, I kept thinking, how shall I do it? How shall I do it? How shall I do it?
Yeah. For many years, for decades he was thinking. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Vaishnav Sangha ki jai. Thank you very much for coming, all you gentlemen. I appreciate that you took the trouble to come, and the ladies, of course, but